The grand chamber of the Galactora Council shimmered with ethereal light, suspended in the void above Proxima Centauri. Massive crystalline panels refracted starfire through the domed ceiling, casting dancing refractions on the assembled delegates. The chamber, shaped like an open spiral galaxy, seated 27 species, each older, more advanced, and more arrogant than the last. At its core, floating on a gravitic dais, stood High Arbiter Kirilljuan of the Zauri. His silver mandibles clicked once, precisely once. Silence followed. "The countdown is set," Juan announced, his voice hollow, deep, and electronically translated through neural frequencies. 12 Earth hours until extinction." A low hum of approval rippled through the council. "We've mapped their defense grid, intercepted all their encryption protocols, neutralized their planetary shields in the simulations," said Delegate Hushtir of the Varnex Hive. "Their resistance is mathematically irrelevant." Juan nodded. "Humanity's strengths lie in unpredictability. Their emotion. Their chaos. All accounted for." He raised a clawed finger, activating a projection. "Earth. Rotating, glowing blue, vulnerable. They'll fall before midday. Their species will end as swiftly as it rose." He sipped from a glass filled with neurofluid, glancing at the siege timer projected in his vision, 11:57:04. Thousands of kilometers away, hidden beneath the icy shadows of Varellan's moon, a different war room buzzed. No stained glass. No marble chairs. Just steel, flickering status panels, and a lingering scent of oil and ozone. Talon's Edge, a Black Ops human stealth cruiser, was quiet but alive. Captain Alara Vaz stood at the bridge's helm, eyes fixed on a holographic projection of the same countdown. Unlike Juan, she didn't sip, she stared. Cold, focused. "They're early," muttered Lieutenant Rios beside her. "They're arrogant," Alara replied, pulling her hair into a tight braid. "They think they're watching us drown. But we invited them to the shoreline." She tapped her neural implant. Data flowed into her retina overlay. Fleet positions. Trajectory models. Estimated assault vectors. All confirmed the same, a full-scale coordinated blitz. She turned to her crew. 37 specialists. Trained in adaptive combat. Each selected not just for skill, but for the way their brains responded under cognitive duress. "All units," she said calmly. "Initiate Project Eclipse." No one hesitated. They'd been drilled for this moment, humanity's largest bluff. For months, Earth had broadcast fake vulnerabilities. Let alien probes, accidentally, access defense plans. They let the Council feel superior. Behind the deception, however, was a weapon unlike any conceived. The Chronostagger drive. Developed in silence. Installed only on Talon's Edge and 3 Ghost cruisers. It didn't fire bullets or beams, it saw the future. Precisely 3.6 seconds ahead. Enough to react before missiles launched. Enough to dodge death before it arrived. Enough to fight like ghosts from the future. "Drives warming," reported Rios. "Stabilizers engaged. Field expanding." Alara stared at the final status screen. Red. Then yellow. Then green. "It begins." On the outer edges of Earth's solar defense line, the first alien formations dropped from hyperspace. Gigantic crescents of fire and alloy, armed with quantum disintegration weapons. Perfect formation. Perfect timing. They expected resistance. Resistance came, but not the kind they knew. Within 2 seconds of re-entry, the first Galactoran battlecruiser exploded, not from human fire, but from a collision. It had deviated by 4.1 degrees. Just enough to graze its neighbor. 3 seconds later, a second ship veered violently off course, attempting to correct. It spiraled into a gravity mine that hadn't existed moments before. "Collision across the 6th vector," one of Juan's tacticians barked. "Impossible." They had no time, no forewarning. And yet the data didn't lie. More ships entered. More ships vanished. Back aboard Talon's Edge, the bridge moved like synchronized chaos. Crew shouted commands. AI systems predicted 3.6 seconds ahead. Weapons deployed without being fired. They appeared in enemy paths milliseconds before ships entered them. Elara barely blinked. Redirect intercept mines along Gamma Corridor. Rios hesitated. That's not where their ships are heading. It's where they will. Seconds later, a battalion of Zalri assault pods veered off course and right into a net of magnetic shrapnel. Boom! The stars flashed with red. In the council chamber, panic had set in. Kiriljuan's posture stiffened. Initiate counter-spiral maneuver. Shift to stochastic patterning. The fleet adjusted, but too slowly. Their formations, designed for symmetrical warfare, shattered under humanity's asymmetrical strikes. The aliens moved by logic, prediction, mathematics. Humans didn't. Humans felt their war. Reacted. Adapted. Broke patterns the moment they formed. Shuan's voice trembled, barely audible beneath his breath. This wasn't in the simulation. Tactical analysis? Elara asked, her voice steady amid the madness. Rios scanned the feed. 37% of the alien fleet is disabled. That was under 8 minutes. Keep pressing, she said. Let them realize they're not gods. Ma'am, another officer chimed in. Incoming encrypted broadcast, from the alien flagship. Elara raised an eyebrow. Play it. Shuan's face appeared. Blood streaked across his crystalline forehead. Smoke curled behind him. He looked afraid. This is High Arbiter Zhuan of the Galactora Council. We demand ceasefire. Humanity has made its point. Elara leaned forward, her voice like frost. No. You made yours, 12 hours. We're only at 9. And she cut the line. On Earth, in bunkers and war rooms, humanity held its breath. Reports came in from across the system, alien fleets retreating, burning, surrendering. And everywhere, one name echoed. Talon's Edge. The ship that ended a war in minutes. Elara stood in silence as the last wave of enemy ships disappeared from her screen. Her crew remained still, stunned by their own efficiency. We just won? Someone whispered. No, Elara replied quietly. We just reminded them why you never back a cornered species. She turned away from the console, heading to her quarters. Let me know when Zhuan begs again. The alien fleet was in shambles. Hundreds of vessels scattered across space like broken teeth, glowing wreckage drifting in the gravity tides around Proxima Centauri. What had begun as a perfectly synchronized military operation had devolved into blind panic and disorder, something the Galactora Council had never experienced in 10,000 years of conquest. Inside the command bridge of Talon's Edge, the tension had shifted. It wasn't fear. It was focus, a silence sharpened by strategy, adrenaline, and certainty. Chronostagger feedback loop is stabilizing. Lieutenant Rios reported, his voice clipped but steady. Predictive variance holding at 3.6 seconds. Captain Elara Vos kept her eyes locked on the tactical display. The enemy ships still outnumbered them. Technologically, they should have been superior. And yet, they weren't even a threat anymore. They're still trying to fight us like we're rational, Elara murmured. Perfect patterns. Logical responses. They think this is a chessboard. And we're flipping the table, Rios added. She almost smiled. Far across the battlefield, High Arbiter Kiriljuan stared at the carnage unfolding on his flagship's view screen. No formation is holding, said his second-in-command, Saito, a wide-eyed Plurn tactician. Human retaliation time is impossible. They're acting before our attacks. It's as if they can see us coming. Zhuan finished coldly. He gripped the rail of his command platform, mandibles twitching with frustration. His mind scanned every theory, every briefing, every dataset. This outcome had not been in the probability sphere. Every variable had been calculated, asterisk except this, asterisk. Retreat is not an option, Zhuan snapped. Redirect all remaining capital ships to the human lead vessel. Crush their command. Inside Talon's Edge, alarms flared. Enemy warpath forming. said the weapons officer. 23 cruisers inbound. All headed straight for us. They want the head of the snake, Rio said. They're welcome to try, Elara replied. She activated the comms. All fire teams, engage Ghost Protocol. We disappear in 30 seconds. The command echoed through the ship. Ghost Protocol, a full dispersal of decoy drones, false signatures, and projected illusions. Every system on Talon's Edge had been designed for one purpose: misdirection through calculated anarchy. Elara turned back to the display. The alien cruisers surged forward in a tight kill spear formation, energy weapons primed. Then Talon's Edge vanished. From the enemy's perspective, the human ship split into 5. Each Talon's Edge veered in different directions, matching the same velocity and shield frequency. Multiple signals, Saito said, his voice rising. They've fragmented. Shuan's claws clicked frantically. They're using projection phasing. Ignore the clones, target the energy core signature. They've scattered that too. We can't identify the real one. A pause. And then, one of the cruisers exploded, followed by another. In reality, Talon's Edge had slipped beneath the enemy's path, masked by a gravitational shadow and firing antimatter mines in precise sequences. The mines weren't launched, they were placed. Exactly where the future said the enemy would be. Each time a ship advanced, it stumbled into destruction it couldn't predict. The humans weren't reacting to the war, they were sculpting it. On the bridge, Elara leaned back slightly, watching the carnage unfold. 10 down. 13 remain, Rio said. They're splitting their fleet again. Randomizing attack paths. She nodded. They're learning. But they're too late. Elara tapped into the fleet's open broadcast channel. Every alien commander would hear her now. This is Captain Elara Voss of the human fleet. We know your strategies. We let you watch us. You spent years studying us like a virus under a microscope. But we're not a disease. She paused. We're evolution. And you're not immune. Aboard Zhuan's flagship, the silence was absolute. Every member of the bridge crew had turned toward him, waiting. Zhuan's chest tightened. She's provoking us. No, Saito said quietly. She's winning. Suddenly another alert flared. Tactical breach on aft decks, said a drone interface aboard the Zalri command ship. Unknown energy signature, detonation imminent. Before the sentence finished, a deep shockwave rattled through the hull. Explosions ripped through the inner deck. Fires tore down corridors. Zhuan was thrown against the dais. Where did that come from? He hissed, pulling himself upright. From inside, said Saito. They've infiltrated our ships. They're everywhere. Back aboard Talon's Edge, Elara's fingers danced across the interface. They had anticipated the enemy's fallback routes and programmed assault drones to slip aboard any retreating vessels via their own tractor beams. The irony wasn't lost on her. They thought we were behind, she said. We were already inside. A final scan of the battlefield told the story. Only 5 enemy capital ships remained. The rest, reduced to debris, drifting without command. Status? Elara asked. Victory, Rio said. She turned to the main view screen. The wreckage glinted under starlight, silent and drifting. No. Message first. Then victory. She activated the main trans-broadcast channel again, sending a signal through every remaining Galactorus ship. This time, her voice was calm, almost warm. You came for a slaughter. We gave you a warning. The next time you cross into human space, remember this day. Her words echoed. Not because we stopped you, but because we didn't even need to try hard. Zhuan, bloodied and speechless, stood amid a collapsing command center. In 11 minutes, his entire war effort had been neutralized. Not delayed. Not repelled. Deleted. Saito's voice cracked as he whispered. We prepared for a species with weapons. We weren't ready for a species with rage. Zhuan closed his eyes, defeated. She baited us. Let us watch. And still, we failed to see. On Talon's edge, the crew stood in stunned silence. The war room no longer buzzed with tension. It was done. Not with a siege. Not with attrition. But with clarity, calculation, and chaos. Ilara Voss stepped back from the console, arms crossed. End transmission. Let them think about it. Space had gone eerily quiet. No more detonations. No distress signals. The debris of the once glorious Galactora invasion fleet drifted through the void in scattered clusters, burned, fractured, and cold. On the bridge of Talon's edge, the battlefield no longer pulsed with tension. The heat of combat had faded into a surreal calm. Even the hum of the ship felt muted, as if the vessel itself was stunned by what it had done. Captain Ilara Voss sat alone in the command chair, arms resting on the armrests, eyes fixed on the wreckage stretching endlessly across the viewport. A war that should have lasted years had ended in under 12 minutes. "Damage report?" she asked quietly. Lieutenant Rios stood at her side, still pale from the adrenaline crash. "Minimal. A few structural tremors. Shields never dropped below 60%. No casualties." Ilara nodded but said nothing. He continued. "Enemy vessels, less than 4 remain. All have ceased fire. Some are venting atmosphere. One appears to be attempting surrender via light code. And the flagship? Adrift. Systems failing. No transmissions since your last broadcast." She leaned forward, hands steepled under her chin. "Bring us in close." The Talon's edge drifted like a silent specter toward the Galactora flagship. The alien vessel had once been majestic, a curved monolith of obsidian alloy lined with hexagonal panels and radiant spines. Now, it was cracked open like a crushed insect, its engines dark, hull smeared with the carbon streaks of internal explosions. Ilara opened a calm line. "This is Captain Ilara Voss of the United Human Front. Do you copy?" "Static." She tried again. "We hold fire. Respond if able." This time, there was an answer, garbled, shaky, but unmistakably the voice of High Arbiter Kirilljuan. "This is Juin." His voice lacked its previous grandeur. No arrogance. Just pain. "Go ahead," Ilara said, keeping her tone neutral. There was a pause before he spoke again. "I don't understand how." "We prepared. We calculated every risk." "You did," she agreed. "Except one." "What did we miss?" Juin asked, desperation bleeding through the transmission. Ilara's reply was calm. "You prepared for our technology. Not our intent." Juin didn't respond. On his end, the bridge was in shambles. Most of his officers were dead or unconscious. Smoke drifted through what remained of the command deck. Sparks spat from broken panels. His once pristine uniform hung in tatters. "I want terms," he finally said. "There are no terms," Ilara answered. "You invaded. You lost. You leave. And if we return? Then we won't be so merciful next time." Juin's voice cracked. "This is your mercy? You're still breathing, aren't you?" Silence again. Then a strange sound filtered through the transmission, one Ilara hadn't expected. Laughter. Not amused. Not mocking. Empty. "I thought we were gods," Juin said. "We saw your world as primitive, your kind as fragile. But now I see." He paused, and when he spoke again, it was almost a whisper. "You fight like nothing to lose." "That's because we've lost before," Ilara replied. A pause. Juin spoke one last time. "We misread your kind." "No," Ilara corrected. "You misread our limits." She cut the channel. A long silence followed. Then Rios spoke up, hesitant. "So, do we finish them?" Ilara didn't answer immediately. Her mind was elsewhere, on Earth, on the billions who had watched this unfold in real time, praying the last minutes of their lives wouldn't be spent watching orbital fire consume their cities. "We've already made our point," she said. "They're crippled, Captain. We could wipe the rest out." "And what would that prove?" she asked. That we can, Rio said. She turned to him. But they already know that. Elara stood. Broadcast to remaining ships. Withdraw from our territory immediately. Any vessel still in human space within the hour will be considered hostile and destroyed. No exceptions. Yes, ma'am. She turned toward the viewport again. The dying alien flagship spun slowly, its navigation system long gone. Lights flickered in its core like a final heartbeat. They'll never forget this, Rio said. They're not supposed to, she answered. Back on Earth, cheers erupted from every screen, every feed, every bunker. The invasion that was supposed to end humanity had become a legend, one born in real time. The story would be told for generations, how the greatest armada in galactic history was obliterated not by force of numbers, but by the brutal cunning of a cornered species. By humans. Hours later, Elara stood alone in her quarters, the room dimly lit by starlight filtering through the window. She opened her private log. Mission report, Operation Eclipse, final entry. The Galactora Confederacy assumed victory before firing a single shot. They didn't see the trap because they thought us incapable of setting one. They viewed humanity as disorganized, irrational, emotional. They were right. But they misunderstood what those things mean in war. We aren't predictable. We aren't structured. We improvise. We endure. We rage. And when pushed far enough, we become inevitable. 12 minutes. No more war. No surrender. Just silence. Asterisk. She saved the entry, then stood and stared into the stars. Behind her, a message pinged on the console. Incoming transmission, encrypted. Source unknown. She opened it. One line of alien script appeared. We won't make the same mistake twice. Her eyes narrowed. Elara to command, she said, tapping her comm. Go ahead, Captain. Begin Phase 2. They're already thinking about next time. 2 weeks had passed since the obliteration of the Galactora Council's fleet. The battlefield had gone quiet, but the galaxy had not. Across hundreds of star systems, rumors ignited like fire in dry brush. The humans didn't just win. They rewrote the rules of engagement. They didn't fight harder. They fought smarter. They ended a war in minutes. And now, they were being watched. Inside the Citadel core on Earth's orbital station Atlas Prime, Captain Elara Vaz stood before the Unified Earth Council, an arc of representatives who, until recently, doubted her every plan. Today, they watched her like she was the most dangerous force in the room. Because she was. A massive display behind her showed debris fields still orbiting Virelen's moon, stretching like artificial asteroid belts. The Council's insignia flickered to the side, almost forgotten. She began her report without ceremony. Tactical debrief of Operation Eclipse, full strategic success. Enemy fleets neutralized. Invasion averted. Morale across all colonies has spiked. No retaliation to date. Chairman Durrell leaned forward. He looked aged in the way only politicians do, hollow eyes, but a hunger behind them. And the enemy response? Elara didn't blink. They're quiet. Too quiet. Durrell nodded. You believe they'll return. They're not a species. They're a civilization. One doesn't survive 10,000 years by folding after one defeat. Which is why, said another counselor, many of us believe we should strike now, while they're weak. Elara glanced at him. And become what they thought we were. Silence. She let the moment hang. They came to extinguish us because they saw us as chaotic and primitive. We didn't beat them by proving we're stronger. We beat them by showing we're smarter. That we think in ways they don't. Durrell's eyes narrowed. So what do you propose? Elara turned back to the display. We don't chase them. We let them come to us. And when they do, they'll bring analysts. Scholars. Diplomats. Because now they'll study us. Hours later, in her personal quarters aboard Talon's Edge, Elara reviewed the encrypted transmission again, the one intercepted from a rogue Galactora relay post on the fringes of Orion space. Observe the anomaly. Do not provoke. Understand before re-engaging. They were watching. That was fine. She stared into the stars and muttered, "Come and watch." Across the galaxy, in the ruins of the Council's capital world, Kirilljuan limped through a half-destroyed data hall, flanked by 2 lower-ranked survivors. His prestige was gone. So was his fleet. But not his mind. "We miscalculated once," Chuan rasped, dragging his claw across a shattered command console. "But they made a mistake too." The younger officer tilted his head. "What mistake?" "They left us alive." At the same time, human scouts reported out findings. In former Galactor-controlled sectors, alien ships were seen hovering, never landing, never engaging. Observers. Always just at the edge of sensor range. At first, they were considered remnants. But then, they started appearing near human colonies. Unarmed. Silent. Watching. Inside a hidden laboratory beneath the Pacific Ocean, a think tank known as Sublevel 7 dissected alien wreckage retrieved from the battlefield. A former astrophysicist, now military advisor, Dr. Lennox Cross, ran the analysis. "They built everything based on perfect systems," he said to his team. "No variability. Their engines, their weapons, even their encryption, everything was predictable. Elegant, but inflexible." He tapped the screen, pulling up human tech. "We're duct tape, razor blades, and brute force hidden inside refined unpredictability." A technician asked. "So what's next?" Lennox gave a half-smile. "They'll try to evolve." Back on Talon's edge, Elara watched a live feed from a deep space recon probe. An alien ship hovered in an unclaimed sector. One she hadn't seen before. Sleek, silent. Its design was Galactora, but with modifications. Sharper angles. Broken symmetry. Flaws introduced on purpose. Rios stepped beside her. "They're mimicking us." She nodded. "They're learning. And they still don't understand why we did it." Later, in the observation deck, Elara stared into the infinite black, her reflection faint on the glass. She spoke, not knowing if anyone would ever hear it. "You thought we were like you. But we're not. You tried to measure us, on a scale that only fits your kind. You assumed fear would break us. But fear is fuel to us. Pressure is a forge." She paused, pressing her palm against the cold glass. "We didn't win because we had better weapons. We won because we made you afraid to fight again." On the fringes of the galaxy, a council of different species convened, not in war chambers, but in cloaked observation halls. One species spoke. "They did in minutes what none of us could in centuries." Another replied, "Perhaps we misjudged the humans." A third murmured, "Perhaps we should introduce ourselves, before they find us first." Final entry, Captain's Log. Elara Vos. "We have no empire. No galactic seat of power. No claim to dominance. We didn't ask for war, but we ended it. They'll study us now. Not because they want to. Because they have to. Because in the span of 12 minutes, we taught the galaxy one truth: you don't corner the species that turn survival into an art form. You don't gamble with creatures who grew up on a dying world. And you don't start a war, unless you're ready to lose it before it begins."